Kicking off this section with Saturday's Telegraph. And Nick, has Nicola Sturgeon managed to figure out what a woman is yet?
No, Andrew, and it's a new low in a series of stunning lows for Nicola Sturgeon. This is awful. So the headline is Nicola Sturgeon, gender law opponents use women's rights as cloak to be transphobic. She accuses people of being misogynistic, homophobic, possibly racist. Why not throw that in there as well?
Yep.
Well-known misogynists like Rosie Duffield, J.K. Rowling, Miriam Cates, these well-known misogynists, Andrew. You're a misogynist now, or a homophobe, or a racist if you don't want a biological man raping people in a prison. That's where we are in 2023. Absolutely appalling. She says this bizarre statement. As a general principle, somebody who rapes a woman should not be in a woman's prison. Well, yes, I mean, if it's a man, yeah. I mean, as a general principle, just in all cases, really. I mean,
let's just say that.
That's madness. I mean, and she says the danger of a blanket approach is you end up having a different effect to the one you want because you catch cases that should be dealt with in a different way. Just pure nonsense. Don't put biological men in women's prisons. End of story. Done, really.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because she was being basically grilled in Holyrood by Douglas Ross, the leader of the Conservatives, the Scottish Conservatives, and he had to ask her 4 times, is this, you know, the rapist that we're all talking about at the moment, is this rapist currently in a women's prison, which is the case? So the prisoner's been remanded there while they do this risk assessment and work out. And Nicola Sturgeon saying, look, there's no way he's going to be in a women's prison. And Douglas Ross kept saying, yeah, but is he now? And she wouldn't. And of course, that's exactly this. This is madness, right?
Yeah, I mean, just so I can get my head around this, did she remove him? Has she removed him now?
No, but she was well within her rights to do so. She had the power to do that. But what she's saying is, yes, it will definitely be the case that he won't be in this prison. But the fact is, the SNP could have done something about this before.
But if she does in this case, it's kind of like she can remove the right to self-ID, but if anyone else does, it's transphobic.
Right. Yeah, she's got a weird veto to do it.
Yeah, it's like in this one occasion that she's going to do it, she's going to do it now because of this situation that she said wasn't going to happen, and it's not going to happen again.
But it's already happened, and there's already other prisoners that this pertains to. So if she's just going to make an exception for this particular rapist because there was a big public outrage about it, it should be a blanket point, shouldn't it?
Of course.
And by the way, if Nicola Sturgeon, who has been saying all along trans women are women, well, clearly she doesn't think that because she's just said that this one isn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Madness. It's the lowest possible thing to use these terms, these slurs against people who are worried about women's safety, who are worried about children's safety when it comes to the gender recognition bill, and you just call them misogynist and homophobic. It's like the basket of deplorables that Hillary Clinton did. Anyone who disagrees with our weird policies must be some sort of bigot.
What do you make of this, Dan? Because I worry about this with politics. I think it's the lowest kind of Twitter-style politics. Anyone who disagrees with me is a fascist, is a racist, is a homophobe.
I think it's like they resort to name-calling, isn't it? But also it's like you're being shamed for having an opinion. And I actually had this today. I'd done a little video on my Instagram. I was a little bit shocked by the amount of middle-aged men dressed as women on TikTok that are aiming their content at children. I'm a father of 2 little girls, and I mentioned that, and I was called all sorts of things for being concerned about my children and the fact that the content was coming from that source.
Because what it is, is if you brand someone a homophobe or a transphobe or whatever...
You've won the argument.
You've won the argument, and you sort of disoblige yourself of having to talk to that person because you may as well just say sinner, right? That person is a heretic and you mustn't talk to... But for Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, to be stooping to these tactics, she says anyone who raises sincere, legitimate concerns are misogynistic, homophobic, possibly racist. What about the black lesbians who have raised these concerns? How do they fit into this category? There's no thought here.
Yeah.
No.
Like, it's stupidity, isn't it?
Dug herself into a hole, because how can this ever look good for her? In the long term, how can she ever win this?
Well, she can't, but a lot of people are now sort of saying she's really scuppered her independence plans, hasn't she? Because she's staked too much on this hugely unpopular gender reform bill, which was 2/3 of the Scottish voters were against it, and she railroaded it through anyway. And so it's not going to work out for her now, is she? She's going to have to stand down.
I think it really shows how dangerous it is when you worry too much about offending people.
You think that's what this was about?
Well, do you know what I mean? They're worried too much about hurting people's feelings and offending people about certain things, and when it's pushed really far, situations like this can happen.
But I mean, there might be something to that. But she's managed to offend an awful lot of people in this process.
She actually believes it, which is even more disturbing. That she actually believes in the cause, which apparently she does.
It's very possible that she does. The SNP has been particularly captured in this way. But they really do need to get over it. In a way, they're on a par with Labour in terms of how captured they are when it comes to this particular issue. But I think it could... Now it's become a constitutional issue. I think it could really cost her political legacy, anyway, if she ever had one. Anyway...